Okay, yesterday we have already discussed about the Faraday's experiment. We have discussed about the factors on which the value of the induced current will depend. Once again, I am repeating those factors so that we can connect it with the previous one. Like I'm discussing about the factors on which the value of induced current will depend. One of the factor was a rate of change of magnetic flux, magnetic field or magnetic flux. If
Increase in number of coils.
the if there is more change in the if the rate of change, if the magnetic field is changing rapidly, if there is rapid change in the magnetic field, then automatically the value of induced current will increase. Then second is the value of induced current will also directly proportional to number of turns in the coil. If the number of turns in the coil increases, then the value of induced current will also increase. Value of induced current will increase if the number of turn will increase in the coil, and the value of induced current will decrease if the number of turns will decrease. Third factor on which the value of induced current will depend upon is the magnetic strength of the magnetic field. Strength of magnetic field. It means the field, the magnet because of which the magnetic field is created. If it is stronger, then the value of induced current will be more, and if the field is weak, then the value of induced current will be less. So these are the three factors on which the value of induced current depends. Now, Michael Faraday, if we sum up the Michael Faraday's experiment, then we reach to the two laws which were given by the Michael Faraday, and these laws are called as laws of Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. The two laws given by Michael Faraday on summing up the experiment of electromagnetic induction is that first law is that when the magnetic flux linked with the coil is change, means when the magnetic flux is change, an induced EMF, that is electromotive force, is set up in the coil, and because of that EMF, what is induced in the coil, current is induced in the coil. So first law of Michael Faraday, in simple words, I can say that whenever there is change in magnetic field, whenever there is change in the magnetic field, current will be induced in the coil. That is the first law. And second law is that the magnitude of the induced current is directly proportional to the rate of change of magnetic flux, that I have already discussed with the first point, that a rate of change of magnetic flux will also determine the value of the magnitude of the induced current. If the rate of change of magnetic flux is more, then the value of induced current will be greater, and if the rate of change of magnetic flux decreases, then the value of induced current will also decrease. These two laws is known as Faraday's law of electromagnetic induction. Next topic which we are going to discuss about is that, yes, if there is induced current is there, if the magnetic field is there and the motion is there, then is it possible to find out the direction of the induced current? Yes, it is possible to find out the direction of induced current. And now how it is possible to find out the direction of the induced current? By use of Fleming's right hand rule. There are two right hand rules. One right hand rule was given by Maxwell in which there are two right-hand rule. One was given by Maxwell and one is given by Fleming. So don't get confused. Maxwell's right-hand thumb rule is used to determine the direction of the magnetic field lines around a straight current carrying conductor. I'm once again speaking up. Maxwell's right-hand thumb rule is used to find the direction of the magnetic field lines around the straight current carrying conductor, in which he said that if there is the straight current carrying conductor, in order to find out the direction of the magnetic field around the current carrying conductor, grab the current carrying conductor in your right hand such that the thumb points in the direction of the electric current. Then the encircling fingers will give us the direction of the magnetic field, which is in the form of concentric circle. That is to find the direction of the magnetic field around a straight current carrying conductor. Now, what is Fleming's right-hand rule? Fleming's right-hand rule says it is to find the direction of the induced current. Fleming's right-hand rule is used to find out the direction of the induced current, in which it is said that your right hand, you have to keep the right hand in such a manner that thumb, middle finger, forefinger and middle finger all are mutually perpendicular to each other. If you will see to it, there is the perpendicular. Perpendicular means that they should have a 90-degree angle between the two. Here, if I talk about, this is the forefinger and this is the middle finger. If you will see to it that it forms an angle of 90 degree. And if we talk about this, then it will also be, you will also be able to find out that the forefinger and thumb are also mutually perpendicular to each other because they form the 90-degree angle. Here the angle is almost 90 degree, right? So what does the rule say? What does the rule say? It says that if the forefinger, middle finger and thumb are mutually perpendicular to each other, then the thumb points in the direction of the motion of the conductor. The forefinger gives us the direction of the magnetic field and the middle finger will give us the direction of the induced current. This will give us the direction of the, in which there is the movement of the magnet or the coil. This will indicate the movement, this will indicate the motion of either the magnet or the coil. Then this will give us the direction of the magnetic field, because you always know that the magnetic field line travel from north to south outside the magnet. And then this is the finger which always will indicate the induced current. So I hope I am clear on this, right? Next topic which we have to discuss about is there are two types of current. One we call as direct current and one we call as alternate current. Now, what is the difference between the two currents? A current which always flow only in one direction. The current which always flow only in one direction, and this current is produced by the DC sources, like it is produced by the battery, by the cell, by the DC generator, by the solar cells, right? Since it follows flow in the same direction. Therefore, the frequency of DC is 0. Means that if we try to plot the graph of, this is the line of zero disturbance. The line of zero disturbance. Okay. Direct current. If we try to plot the graph of the alternate current with the reference to the line of zero disturbance, you will see to it that the graph of direct current will always be only in one direction, right? In case of sound, we have seen that it forms the crust and the trough, but here in direct current, there will only be, the current will only flow in one direction. And the sources of producing the direct current is the DC sources, like cell, battery, DC generator, solar cell, etc. I have told you that there is no frequency because the current always flow in the same direction. So the frequency of DC direct current is 0. Frequency of DC is 0. Okay. Then what about alternate current? Alternate current means the magnitude and the direction of this current changes with time and attains the same magnitude and direction after a different interval, which is called a period. That means if we plot the graph of AC, you will see to it that the current will reverse its direction after a particular time period. So this current, where the direction as well as the magnitude gets changed, periodically it gets changed. So this type of current is known as AC current, right? And as it changes its direction, so it do have the frequency, and in India, the frequency of current is 50 hertz. What do you mean by that? It means that for 1/100th of the second, there are always 3. If you are seeing a socket, if you see a socket, there are always 3-pin socket. Like if we talk about this is the plug, and in order to let the electricity flow through it, I have to plug it in a socket, right? It's having 2 terminal as well as the third one. This third one is the ground wire. Here one is the live and one is the neutral wire. It is said that for 1/100th of the second, they will keep on changing the direction. They will keep on changing. Once for 1/100th of the second, they will keep on changing the terminals, right? So that is why the frequency is nearly 50 hertz in India, because after every 1/100th of the second, it changes its direction. So the frequency is 50 hertz. AC has the many advantages over the DC. One is that AC can alternate current can be transmitted over a longer, you can say it can cover a long distances without much loss. Can be transmitted at a high voltage to low voltage, then electric power can be transmitted over the long distances. AC can be converted into DC. Okay, so there are so many, there are various advantages of AC over DC. AC equipments are more durable as compared to the DC equipments, which run on the DC current. They are more durable which run on AC current, they are more durable than which run in the which run on DC. But one of the disadvantage of AC over DC is that AC is more dangerous than DC current, and AC current cannot be stored. The magnitude, so AC current cannot be stored. For storing the current, we need to have it in the DC. So these are the two type of currents which we get. One is AC and DC. Right. Next topic which we are.
मैम कोई एग्जांपल होता है AC का?
AC current, the current which you get in the home, like the current which is being produced in the hydropower electric plants, the thermal power stations, atomic power stations, all the current which is supplied to our homes, which is the one that is AC.